I'm so glad that you all joined us for our very first everyday expression of faith that we're calling Mustard Seeds here this fall. Today, we're sitting down with Scott Bach-Hansen, and he's going to tell him a little bit about himself here in just a little bit. But I am just, remember, we're here because a lot of times we think that, you know, how we live into our faith needs to be these big, huge moments. But we can experience God and encounter God everywhere that we go, in everything that we do. And Scott's got a really unique story that I think y'all will like. So Scott, welcome to Washington Farm United Methodist Church. It's good to have you here. And I'm wondering, can you tell the folks here a little bit about who you are and why would I even want to ask you some questions?
Wow. Thanks for having me. You know, I think the answer to that is you might be a little crazy, but
it's true. I'm a little bit crazy.
So yeah, my name's Scott Bach-Hansen, and I am a second career pastor. I am in seminary at Wesley Theological Seminary, and will be hopefully getting my first appointment coming this summer. Most of my background, I spent 25 plus years in sales and working in corporate world and doing a lot of things that just was great, but it wasn't really spiritual growing. And so for me, I really wanted to find something different. And I found some of those outlets in my life in sports. And so I've refereed high school basketball and college basketball since 1992. So this is my 30th season of refereeing basketball. And I did 13 years of NCAA men's basketball as well, and refereed in the Division II and Division III tournaments. And along the way, I found that there was a need for some opportunities to be able to help people. Like we really grew into a family. If you think about it, refereeing and pastoring are like this, they're very similar in the sense that you have to start out perfect and then only get better. And when I look at officiating, I just felt like we were a very core group of people, a fraternity, if you will, similar to those of us that are getting into the ministry. And I really enjoyed that aspect. And so what ended up happening is, through a natural progression, we found that we were having members of our local association, our Cardinal Basketball Officials Association, that were going through difficult times in life. They were losing their parents. We were in the sandwich generation. We were taking care of our parents and our kids, and soon enough we were dealing with people that were losing members of their family, and we said, you know, maybe there's something that we can do. And then we kind of looked around and realized that we had 4 members that were seminary trained in pastoral care. We have a Catholic priest, and then we also have 2 graduates from Wesley and myself. And we said, you know, why don't we put together a team that can respond to this? And at first we didn't know what to call it, but then it kind of naturally became a chaplain team. And so for the last 4.5 years, we've been responding to the members' needs just from a pastoral care standpoint. We're responsive only because it's independent contractors. We're not having Bible studies, although I'd like to be able to get there one day. And so with that, it's just been fantastic. And then I also have this side gig, as you know, working for the NBA in referee operations as a courtside administrator. And
tell people what that really means. What do you actually do?
So I basically work the replay equipment at the table and support the referees on the court when they...
If you all watch the Washington Wizards play, you'll see a black table. And usually, if you look, you'll see Scott sitting right in the center of that table. I never miss him at a game. Not that we're Wizards fans, but we're Wizards fans because we're a fan of Scott.
There's 2 giveaways: a bright blue shirt and a bald head with a little headset on.
We found you the other day. It was really fun.
Yes.
That's really cool.
Yes.
Scott, tell me a little bit. This is really cool stuff, and I think it's stuff that folks don't really think about when they think about sports. I mean, how many of you out there have thought about referees as like needing pastoral care, especially since, you know, we like to yell at referees a lot? It makes sense, actually. Tell me a little bit, how has your experience of faith been enhanced through your participation in these various sports related programs?
You know, I played sports my whole childhood and youth and growing up, and one of the things that kind of caught my attention when I was younger that was really interesting to me was if somebody got hurt on the field and they had to bring out the cart or a stretcher for somebody, and I saw the players kneeling around them and they were praying, and I thought, wow, that's really neat. And it wasn't just their teammates, it was the opponents as well. And it just kind of showed me that there's something bigger to this than just sports. And so for me, it just kind of really, I looked at it and I said, wow, that's really cool. And it just, every time I saw it, I'd always look for those people. It's like Mr. Rogers said, look for the helpers, right?
Yeah.
His mom told him, look for the helpers when you see tragedy. And I would look for those that were praying for teammates. And I really started looking for the opponents. And then the more I paid attention to that, the more it was great. Because we live in a society now where, the kids are stepping over each other, and it's, who can shame who the most. And it's really frustrating to see that. So when I see somebody helping an opponent up, or praying, or just kneeling by somebody that's injured, I think it's just it sends the right message.
I agree. For me, my favorite part of watching things like that happen in games is that at the end of the game, we might be really upset because our team lost. But in football, for instance, the two quarterbacks maybe even went to college together and they're friends. And so after the end of the game, like, they get together and they hang out and they're laughing and they're joking with each other.
Yeah.
And there's something really incredible about that, because it reminds me that we can live in this world, and some of what we have to live through in this world is competitive. I mean, just our daily lives sometimes feel that way.
But it's
and we can be friends.
You mentioned that at the end of the game.
Yeah.
If you watch an NFL game, because it's the most popular sport,
right,
at the end of the game, you'll see a circle of people get together around the 50-yard line from both teams.
Yeah.
And each team has a chaplain now, and they pray at the end of the game. They're thankful for health, and they're thankful for competitive spirit. I think sports teaches us so much.
Yeah.
It teaches us how to overcome obstacles, how to persevere, how to understand how to win, how to lose, how to be on a team.
Yeah.
And now it's also teaching us that it's okay.
Yeah.
It's okay to pray. It's okay to kneel down next to the person that you just went to battle with, and pray with them and for them. And I think there's nothing better for us as Christians to be able to use that as an example.
I agree. That's beautiful. That's really cool. Here's another question though. How has your experience of faith been challenged by sports and the things that you do with sports?
I think the toughest thing, especially at the high school level, is it's not the kids. It's not. It's not the kids. The kids on the court or the kids on the field. Generally, there's not an issue with them. The issue's with the parents.
Yeah.
Our parents have gotten to a place where, just because I called a travel on little Johnny, now he's not going to get a scholarship. And just the outrage that I see from fans is awful. When I was refereeing college, my wife Michelle would want to go on road trips with me, and so she would go on road trips with me. And after a while, she didn't even watch the game. She would just watch the people. She would people watch, and she would see them act out aggressively. Now, they're probably out of character. They would never do this at church or at the grocery store or anything else. And
well, we're fans of the Philadelphia Eagles, and I'd like to remind you that they threw snowballs at Santa Claus.
Yes.
So, yeah, would they necessarily do that rocking down Broad Street? I don't know. It is Philadelphia, but these are good questions.
It made me wonder if they had churches in Philadelphia. I think they do. So, no, but I just think that it's important for the parents sometimes to remember that really, if they're there to support their kids, they should just tell them that they love to watch them play, and that they love to be supporting of them. And look, we're human. We're going to make mistakes. We're not perfect, and we're not going to get better. But without us, you can't have the game. And so it's really important to respect those, even those that make mistakes. And I teach referees, so I see a lot of mistakes. And it's really important for me to be able to build those relationships.
That's awesome. I think that you're right. And it's incredible how sports really helps us with relationships. At the end of the day, everything we are is relationship. Like our relationship to each other, but then also our relationship to God, because at the very end of the day, right, God is relationship.
Yes.
That's what we believe in a Trinitarian God. So I am so glad that you came by to chat with us a little bit. Tell us about this really neat thing that I think most people don't have any idea that's going on. That's kind of cool. Like, I have never, until I met you, Scott, I never paused to think about, how does that referee get to be where that referee is? That had never been a thought that crossed my mind. And so you've opened up a whole new world when we've talked about that. So that's really kind of cool. So this is Everyday Experiences of Faith. And so one of the things that I hope that this helps folks our conversation helps folks sort of start to see how they can experience faith just everywhere that they are. That faith is not something that only happens within a church, but that they can encounter God anywhere that they are. And so my question for you is, where have you seen God working in the world today? And it's only like 11 o'clock, so, you only drove here.
I've seen God working in many ways. I've seen somebody on the side of the road changing a tire and somebody stopped to help them. I've seen somebody...
That's hard to find in Virginia. That doesn't happen very much here.
It is.
Yeah.
I've seen somebody wave somebody over just because they had their blinker on. That's also hard to find in the DMV.
That is also hard to find in the DMV.
I found great people just coming here and waiting for us to come in here and seeing people coming in and out of the church, and they are the church. And you said something a second ago that just really hit me. I remember seeing this shirt at a mission trip many years ago, and on the back it had the logo of the church on the front, like it would say Washington Farm UMC, and on the back it said the church has left the building.
Yeah.
And that, I think, is the message. That's the message of what we want to see every day.
Yeah, absolutely.
That's the things that I think can really make an impact, and just leading by example. And look, it's hard. It's hard. We're all sinners. I'm a sinner. Okay, we're all.
Wait, what? We are?
It's true.
It's true.
Even those of us in ministry, we are sinners.
Particularly those of us in ministry.
Yes, and so we need prayers too. But we also are looking for those God winks and those opportunities. And you know what? If you turn on a game today, sometime you'll see a player helping another player up. You'll see somebody praying for somebody. You'll see something that you'll just go, wow. You look for the good. I'm a sucker for those videos of the Olympian that turns and stops and helps their competitor across the finish line, or military homecomings, or whatever it is. I think that there's opportunities that we see it every single day, and that we should remember that when we leave the church, that doesn't mean that we leave our faith.
Yeah, absolutely. That's wonderful. Well, y'all, this has been our very first conversation for Everyday Experiences of Faith, and I am so glad that Scott joined us here at Washington Farm. If you come by at some point, you might hear him preach, because he is going to help me when I need vacations. Because did you know that pastors need vacations too? We do.
They get them?
Yeah, I guess supposedly we're supposed to. I don't know. We'll ask our district superintendent that question. But she's on vacation now.
Hey, Sarah.
But I'm so glad that you could join us and that we could have this conversation. Remember, as you go from here, and as you try to figure out kind of where your faith is and what's going on and who is this God and how is God working with you and in you and around you and between you and others, just to stop and to realize that really God is working in everything and everywhere that we are. And that's what I hope that these conversations do. So thanks for joining us, and we will we'll see you next time, the next time that we have one of these wonderful conversations next week. And I hope, and I'm pretty sure our next one is going to be a conversation about conversations. So I'll see you then.